You're listening to Change Your POV Podcast, episode 63. And I was very focused, and I wanted everyone else to have that same why, basically. And when I found out that not everybody did, I was kind of taken back by it, a little upset. But then I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, that diversity is kind of important, though.
It is absolutely right. Because if you want to be a member of a group of 10 people that are just like you, what's the point?
Exactly. If I'm in a room where everybody agrees with me, I'm in the wrong room.
Welcome to Change Your POV Podcast, helping you navigate transitions in your life, like entering and exiting college or the military, changing jobs or careers, and providing you with the coaching and mentorship needed to help you advance in your personal or professional life. Sometimes all you need is to change your point of view. Now, here's your host, Eddie Lazary.
Hello, folks, and welcome to Change Your POV Podcast. I am your host, Eddie Lazary, and today we have a special guest, Mr. Lee Mowatt. Now, for those of you who might be wondering where Bennett has run off to, as those of you that have been following along and listen to us regularly know, Bennett is in the middle of a very significant transition in his life. He is moving from Delaware to New York, upstate New York, up by Syracuse, New York. And so he is wrapping up things at home. As you can imagine, those of you that have moved know how awesome it is and how much fun it is to make all the arrangements and coordinate, closing down one shop at one location and setting up shop at another, and utilities and jobs and you name it, right? And then if you've got, wife and kids and schools and everything else, he's straight out. And he's also a full-time student, taking some college courses that he's trying to wrap up as well. So he's just like, man, dude, I need to focus on this and I need to get this done. Because he's got a very small window by which he's got to get all this accomplished. So I said, don't worry about it. Take your mini vacation from Change Your POV, your little hiatus, I guess. And focus on you, man. Do you and take care of what you got to take care of. And so that's what he is doing. But he is not gone for very long, and he's not going far. He's just relocating. So with that, I'm sure those of you have probably heard Ben and I kind of make offhanded comments in some of our podcast episodes about this unknown person that many of you don't know, named Lee. And that's who we actually brought on tonight, Lee Mowatt. And we're going to talk about Mastermind Groups tonight. And matter of fact, this episode is Mastering the Mastermind with Mr. Lee Mowatt. And Lee is Lee and I are both in a mastermind group together. And of course, he has the opportunity to listen to a lot of the podcasts from its inception. And one of the things he picked up about Bennett is he says at the end of the day a lot. Oh, yeah. and after Lee said that, I mentioned it to Bennett, and we kind of got a good chuckle out of it. And so very frequently you'll hear Bennett. He'll make a reference at the end of the day, and he'll say, "That's for you, Lee." So welcome to the show, Lee. How you doing, man?
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Ed. I didn't quite expect all that, but I'm great. I'm doing great today.
That's awesome. We are going to get into all things mastermind related, and we've got a checklist that we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about our experiences together in this mastermind group, kind of the advantages, disadvantages, pros and cons, things to look out for, all things mastermind. We're going to cover it tonight, and it's going to be awesome. Before I do, I would like to say thanks to this week's sponsor, Audible.com. Audible.com has over 180,000 titles to choose from all kinds of genres. If you like thrillers or novels or fiction, nonfiction, bibliographies, it's got a little bit of everything. I use it very, very frequently. If I'm researching some particular topics, I will download some books on a particular topic, and I'll just binge listen to several books. And then sometimes it's not education I'm after; it's just an escape. So I'll download some fiction stuff and just kind of take my mind away from what I'm doing, and I've got an hour commute either way, and it helps eat away some of that time, and it keeps me productive, keeps me up to date and up to speed, because I don't have a whole lot of time to read, so I use Audible a lot. So if you are like me and you like to consume a lot of your material through audio, whether it be on a run, at the gym, mowing your grass, commuting to or from work, taking your dog for a walk, doing your dishes, whatever it is that you find yourself doing, I've got a special deal for you. If you head on over to changeyourpov.com/free book, you can sign up, and you will get a free audio download of your choice, whatever you want, whatever book you want, you can get, and a free 30-day trial. So again, that's changeyourpov.com/free book for your free audio download and free 30-day trial. All right, Lee. So, mastermind groups. Well, before we get into that, just briefly share with with our audience, because we're going to have you on again in the future, as we've talked about, off air a few times, and you're going to become a regular on the show, I think, which is good for you and for me.
That's good. I happen to have been listening to all of your episodes, Ed, and I've come to know you pretty good through them, but I've also come to know you very well because of the mastermind group that you and I belong to. That's just one of, let me count the mastermind groups that I do belong to. 1, 2, 3, 4. I belong to 4 mastermind groups. You may not have known that. So
no, I didn't know that. Wow.
So, and they all provide value to me. I would not get rid of any of them, even though the schedule can be kind of tight. But I've been listening to your episodes and have come to know you very well through both the episodes and our experiences together in our mastermind group. So
that's awesome. So tell us a little bit about you, like, who's Lee and what's Lee all about?
Well, Lee is an old guy. I say I'm an old guy. I am 66 years old, but don't let that fool you. I have a message to give to the world, to myself and to the world, that as we get older, we do not need to get old, and that getting older and old are two different things. Our society teaches us very often how we should get old, and that teaching can go against what is really supposed to happen many times. In many cultures, we find our elders taking key roles in our environments and establishing traditions and teaching the youngers. In this particular culture, the American culture, we tend to do something entirely different with our older people. Many of us feel that as we get older, we are losing our usefulness in our society. We feel that we're failing in health or sharpness, mental sharpness. None of this is true. It's basically the self-fulfilling prophecy that's embedded in our culture. And so I've run across this all the time. When I tell people that I'm 66, that tends to defy, when they look at me and see the things I do, that tends to defy their own image of what a 66-year-old is all about. And so it's this message that I'm trying to give out. And one of the reasons why I joined the Mastermind is to learn how to give out that message more effectively than I had been in previous times.
That's awesome, man. And it's funny because I talk to my wife often about, I throw out different names of people in mastermind groups and other connections that I've made online and at work, and all of these people that she doesn't know. And she just said tonight, as a matter of fact, she goes, I just can't keep up with all these people. And I said, well, I'm going to go record a podcast with Lee. And Lee says, Lee, the handstand guy? And I'm like, yeah, the handstand guy. And so,
yeah,
so
that
for the list,
seems to be part of my trademark,
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have a picture of you doing your infamous handstand pose in the show notes page of this episode. And as a matter of fact, we met in person once. We got together as a mastermind group to eat lunch together as a group. And it's the first time I met you. And at the end, we took a group photo. And if I can dig that group photo up out, I might actually put that in there as well. But in that, it wasn't in the photo, but I actually took a video of you actually doing a handstand. And and I'm thinking handstand, right? You just kind of put your hands on the ground, you kind of fling your legs up in the air, and you do a handstand. That's my impression of a handstand. But you didn't. You got down like. Now, mind you, we're out in the parking lot of this Chinese buffet restaurant, cars all around, people everywhere, and you take your shoes off. I think you took your shoes or your boots off, and because you rode your motorcycle in, and you squat down and you kind of get on your kind of squat in the hunched position. You got your hands on the ground, your feet are on the ground, and then you just slowly just kind of take your feet up off the ground. And position it into this full out blown like handstand, which was quite impressive. I got to tell you, man.
Thank you for that compliment. But I've been doing this for a little while. I'm again, the message is if you stay active, you can stay active, and I try to live that. So in spreading this message, I have found that the message has not been spread effectively, and I sort of decided that about a year and a half ago that I wanted to spread this message with a lot more passion than I had before. How to stay young. But staying young is not, of course, just about fitness. It's about how you hold your mind, your soul,
Right.
And so, so I don't suggest people go around like I do. It's not about being like me. It's about being a better version of whoever you are. You may never be able to do a handstand, Ed, but that doesn't stop you from being a better person of yourself. And it's that which we strive for, not to be like me, but to be a better version of yourself.
Right. You're absolutely right. But it is awesome to see, to see people of your age do things like that, because it says to me, I may not ever want to do a handstand or have a need to do it, but it teaches a lesson, and that is, I'm capable of doing more than I might think that I am. I think that's the message.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
But it's so strange that you say that, because I've been watching you for several months now, and you're giving me the same feeling. In delivering the message I'm trying to deliver, I'm feeling just by watching you, I'm feeling I can do more than I have. So what comes around goes around. It works in many different directions, Ed. By watching you, watching what's happened to change your POV, watching the success you've had, the opportunities that come your way. I'm thinking, geez, I can do more than I've done. And so if I've given you that feeling, well, you've given me that feeling too.
Well, thanks, Lee. And I really do appreciate that. And that's a really excellent lead into what tonight's discussion is about. And that is mastermind groups. And for those of you that may or may not be familiar with Napoleon Hill, I would just like to take a few minutes here and just kind of pull out some of his stuff. So in the book he wrote, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about something he calls a mastermind alliance. To Napoleon Hill, a mastermind group is defined as a friendly alliance with one or more persons who will encourage one to follow through with both a plan and a purpose. It's not enough to have this group with just a plan or just the purpose. Therefore, both are necessary for successful meeting of the minds. And it's very interesting that he calls the key ingredient here one or more persons. And the whole premise of a group of one or more persons is the fact that you've got shared knowledge and experience. And it's truly the only way that you can, you've heard the expression, two minds are better than one,
Absolutely.
Right? And it's essentially that's what it is. And he talks about this idea of mastermind groups in several of his books. He's authored several. In the publication that he wrote called Master Key to Riches, he says, quote, "Every man needs friendly contact with other minds for food of expansion and growth." Now, that's just, for friendly contact with other minds for food of expansion and growth. Okay, recognizing that mastermind groups are essential to the success of its participants, Hill describes these groups as an environment that nurtures and supports growth. So that, to me, it hits the nail on the head. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, not only would I agree, I think it almost just scratches the surface because we have to connect to other minds, even for our own survival. The human cannot survive on his alone, and so But in my attempts to connect to others of like mind, for example, for this message, I would see differences between me and them. In other words, the purpose that I'm trying to mate up to them and their thinking and their minds may not quite align. And this is as I go from friend to friend. My friends are very supportive, but they're not always aligned to my purpose. And so, one of the reasons why I belong to 4 mastermind groups is because there's 4 different types of purposes that I'm trying to solve in each one of these groups. So we certainly don't survive alone. And I've come to realize that this message, my efforts, are so much enhanced by sharing it with others, by having others help me, by seeing their business. I've learned so much by watching you and watching others, and the mastermind groups have helped me so much. It's hard to express. It really is. I couldn't do without it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, I think what we'll do is, there's so much, like you said, to talk about mastermind groups. We really truly are only scratching the surface. So to keep this under an hour, I have focused I've put together what I call 10 tips when joining a mastermind group. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of go through, we'll read them, we'll talk about them and our experiences with not only our mastermind group, but others that we're members of. And then at the end of this, if anyone would love the downloadable version of these 10 tips, then you can head on over to the show notes page and opt in and be emailed these 10 tips right to your inbox. So the first one is, and these are in no real particular order. I did kind of put them in somewhat of a kind of an order, but they're in no real particular order. But the first one I have here is, and it kind of goes along with what Bennett and I, for those of you that are following along on our Facebook page, Change Your POV, Bennett and I are in the middle of we're 10 days into what we're calling our 30-day challenge. And what that is every day, Bennett and I, I'll ask him a question, and he has till 10 o'clock that night to answer it via Facebook Live. And then the next day we'll change it up. He'll ask me a question. I have till 10 o'clock at night. And we do this every day for the next 30 days. And today his question to me was, what is your why? And so that really struck me hard. And I did answer his question in my response to him on Change Your POVs. If you want to know what that is, you can head on over and check that out on the Facebook page. But so my number one comment here in the 10 tips when joining a mastermind group is, determine your why. It is critical that you understand why you want to join a mastermind group. What are your thoughts on that, Lee?
Well, to determine my why, first you have to have your own purpose, of course. What are you trying to do? If you want such a group to help you, you have to understand your own purpose. Now, it's going to be refined as you move along. Your purpose, as you initially see it, may not end up the same. It's going to morph a little bit, but you have to understand and feel for what you want to do. And other people don't have to perfectly align in it, but there has to be some commonality between you and the group you're joining. The why I joined each individual mastermind group that I belong to. For example, I have a public speaking mastermind that I joined because I want to speak better. I used to stutter very heavily, and I'm looking to overcome that. Why I joined the elder masterminds that I've joined is because I want to understand the elder issues, the issues surrounding elderly living, the issues that the elderly face. I want to understand those a bit more and participate in their solutions. Why I joined the mastermind that you and I are part of, Ed, is because I want to become more efficient at delivering a message that reaches out to more people. So for each of the mastermind groups that I belong to, I had to determine why. And that's kind of important because you're going to spend time with these meetings, with these people. And if you don't know why you're doing it, well, yeah, you're going to falter a little bit.
I totally agree. And I really love the fact that you can be a member of different or multiple mastermind groups simultaneously, and you can have a different why for each one, but it's important to at least know what that is. And the other thing too that I found out when I joined this mastermind or some of my earlier mastermind groups, and I kind of learned or found this out the hard way, is my why is going to be different than other people's why, and I have to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
Some people want, like, my first mastermind group I joined, I had a very clear reason for being there, and I was very focused, and I wanted everyone else to have that same why, basically. And when I found out that not everybody did, I was kind of taken back by it, a little upset. But then I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, that diversity is kind of important, though.
It is. Absolutely right. Because if you want to be a member of a group of 10 people that are just like you, what's the point?
Exactly. If I'm in a room where everybody agrees with me, I'm in the wrong room.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
And so, to get diverse opinions, I remember the first time that I sat on what we now call the Couch of Insight. When the first time I sat on the Couch of Insight, and I can explain what that is a little bit. The first time I didn't think I needed to have a thick skin, but people are going to criticize. And there's different personalities in this group, but the ideas that were coming off, out of this session was just incredible to me. And I would not have thought of any of this stuff. And I'm seeing other people react the same. Sometimes we get too close to our own business, and those people who want you to succeed will often see opportunities for you to succeed that you are not seeing.
Right.
It's become so clear to me in looking at this.
And this is so important. And one of my why for joining the group that we're a part of is because I wanted to grow in my business with both the blog, Change Your POV blog, and the podcast. And I love my friends and family to death. And the problem is they love me to death back. Right. And so when I ask them questions like, what do you think? And I'm looking for constructive criticism, all I get is, oh, sounds good. Or, yeah, it looks great.
Oh, absolutely.
Or, yeah, and I'm like, I was like, I couldn't get mad at them because, they didn't really understand, you know what I mean? But I wanted to be a part of a group that I wanted people to say, oh man, that's toe up from the flow up. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I had the same problem when I heard you describe that just now, that your friends would always give you this feedback that made you feel good. People would, all my friends want to support me. It's not like they're doing me wrong or anything like that by giving me this weak feedback that makes me feel good. No, they're trying to support me, but they're not understanding that I'm looking for actual criticism that helps me to become better.
Right.
And sometimes that's not too comfortable. And I have to be prepared for things that aren't comfortable. I just released something last week that some of my supporters didn't like, and I have to be able to listen to them. A mastermind group is like that. They will tell you in no uncertain terms, this is not good. We think,
right.
We think, and that's what I'm there for. I'm not there to feel good. I'm there to do good. So
exactly, that's exactly right. So our friends and family want to encourage us, but what we need sometimes to move that needle forward is not so much encouragement, but criticism.
Absolutely, I definitely get that.
Yeah. So number two.
Well, let me ask you before you go on. Let me ask you a question. We say we're looking for the criticism, but don't you find that not every one of us can take that criticism? I haven't really told you you're crap or anything like that, but it takes a thick skin to take in that criticism. How do people handle that? Do you have to be special to be able to take in that kind of criticism? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I just think that when you join a mastermind group, that's just something that you just have to I was a part of Toastmasters for a little while, and I think you do that as well.
Yes, I do.
And I really like it. I couldn't fit it into my schedule, and it's too far away. So unfortunately, I had to bow out of that. But it's one of those things that when you join Toastmasters, the expectation is you're going to get up and talk.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not. And it's just one of those expected things that if you're going to be part of that group, that's what you do. And when you join a mastermind group, it's kind of the same thing. It's not that you're expected to talk, but it's you're expected to get criticism.
Yes.
And so when you're joining these mastermind groups, that's part of the game. And if you don't want that, then perhaps a mastermind group is not what you're looking for. But I'll tell you, it is very difficult to move the needle without that.
Absolutely.
It really is.
That's what I find as well.
And I don't care if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to own your own business, whether it be online or brick and mortar. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to figure out how to take criticism, because there's going to be customers that are not going to be happy with your goods or services. And you're gonna get.
That's fact of life.
It is. It's a fact of life. I don't care if you're selling something online or you've got some, coaching services that you provide. Whatever it is, somebody somewhere along the line is not going to be happy with your products, and they're going to tell you about it. And it's up to you to figure out how you're going to deal with that.
You can't succeed without your haters. You can't.
No,
you absolutely
you can't.
succeed. So
because here's the thing: if you don't have haters, if you don't have anybody that's opposing your ideas or your thoughts, then you're just not pushing yourself far enough. I don't think.
Exactly.
All right, number 2, determine your I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Well, we can. I mean, this is very interesting stuff to me. We can talk about this for
Likewise.
eons. Number 2, determine your expectations. What do you want to get out of the mastermind group? Now, if it's your first mastermind group, you've never been a part of one, maybe you're not sure what to expect or what your expectations should be. But just go into those mastermind groups. If you're a newbie, go into it knowing that you should have expectations, and it behooves you to figure out what those are sooner than later. What you don't want to do is enter a mastermind group and just float along for 4 or 5 months and still have no expectations of what you're trying to do or get out of that group.
This is true. And if you do not know what you're there for, that is the first one, why, and you don't have an expectation as to what you should get, you'll end up doing exactly what you said, Ed. You will end up just floating along. It's essentially a waste of time if you're not participating like this. So what should you expect? Well, you're there for a reason, so you have to satisfy that reason. You want ideas. You want help. You want to identify your problems. What is holding you back? Being an entrepreneur is a lot about personal development. And, it's a lot about personal development inside of yourself and interacting with others. If you're going to be quiet about your business, it's going to have a hard time succeeding. You have to be able to expose your business. Mastermind Groups gives you practice exposing your message. It gives you criticism about that message. I'm expecting to have my message improved, but it's not just my message. I have a website that I have to develop. I have content that I have to produce, products I have to produce. The help I get, in doing all these things and even thinking about these things it would be so much harder without what I hear, even without me putting my business forward. The stuff I hear in these mastermind groups inspires me to keep on going. So.
And sometimes when you're so close to your own, it's like I was in the Army for 10 years, and it was kind of a running joke, when you get around with guys, especially out in Iraq, it gets 130 degrees plus in the shade, and there was weeks on end there for a little while that we weren't taking showers, or we couldn't, because I won't get into the whole story, but it's kind of one of those jokes where it's like, you may not be able to smell yourself, but you can smell others.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
The same thing is true with our business. Sometimes we're so close to our own stink, right? We're so close to our own business that we don't notice things. We can't see. I liken it to being inside like a bottle, like a mayonnaise jar or something. If you're inside that bottle, you can't read the label from the inside of the bottle, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and
the stuff you guys have shown me in the mastermind groups that you and I belong to, I've seen things about my own business that I would never see without hearing what you guys are saying.
Right.
And it's the comments that are made on my business, but it's also the comments that are made on other people's businesses as well.
Sure.
It's like an intertwining web. I'm seeing how this guy could succeed a bit more that he's not seeing. They're seeing the same thing from me. They're seeing, I've seen so much about my own business that I would not have seen by being there. It's rather very interesting to see how the mind works in this way.
Absolutely right. And it's funny too, because I've actually provided some feedback to some people in our group about something they should maybe try to do or things to think about. And after I give that advice, I kind of sit back and think, damn, I should do that in my own
Absolutely.
business. You know what I mean? It was like, I can think of it for someone else, but I couldn't think of it for myself,
And I found that as well. I can give out advice, great. Giving my own advice, to me, not so good.
That's right.
So,
number 3, determine if you prefer an in-person group or a virtual or online mastermind group. There are pros and cons to both. Now, Lee, talk to me about the mastermind groups you're a part of. Are they all online or virtual, or do you have some in person?
I have one virtual. That's the one that you and I belong to, and the others are in person. Now, for me personally, I prefer the virtual masterminds, but other people may be different here. A virtual mastermind group is when you meet using the newer video conferencing technologies like Google Hangouts or Skype. I find these to be extremely convenient. I'm busy, my schedule's tight, I don't want to have to travel here or there. I can even conduct these meetings on my phone. So the convenience factor is very real for me. And for me, it ranks above the personality. Being able to touch a person, being able to see a person face to face, is actually flesh and blood face. But I do remember the first time we all met face to face, how different everyone's faces looked from their camera views.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah. So, but I do belong to 3 mastermind groups that meet in person. And from those experiences, I'm going to say I prefer the virtual mastermind groups. What do you feel are the pros of a physical group that meets physically as opposed to virtual? Which ones do you prefer? I'm curious.
Well, so some pros and cons to virtual versus in person is there are certain things that are just easier in person. Like you and I were actually talking about getting together in person to go over some website development stuff and look at. I mean, that's definitely something you could do online for sure. But sometimes there are certain things in your business, particularly I think back on folks that are involved with physical products. I remember a member in our group actually brought some products to our meetup physically, and it was interesting to actually see the physical products in person.
Yes.
Because it's different than a picture. So I would have to say there's definitely some value to in-person meetups, particularly with some businesses. But what I like about virtual, I'm going to kind of piggyback on what you said. It's more convenient from a schedule, because before we did meet this particular mastermind group that we're in. It started out as an in-person meetup, and it was on Saturdays for like 3 hours. And it's like an hour and 20 minutes away from my house. So I would drive an hour and 20 minutes there. I would spend 3 minutes wherever we met up, or 3 hours wherever we met up.
I'm sorry,
and
that's just too much.
and then an hour and so like my entire Saturday was toast.
Yeah. See now, but you mentioned some of the advantages of a physical meetup. When you're doing actual hard work, I find that better in person. If we're discussing ideas that we can each jot down and take away, there's not much difference between virtual and physical. But if you're doing actual work that you have to produce at these meetings, I find that to be done better in person. Also, as you said, the touching physical products, understanding how labels look, and that kind of stuff is always better done physically. So one thing that I really like about online mastermind groups is
the availability of them, there's more, and you're not tied to one local location.
That's right.
You can actually have mastermind groups. Like there's one mastermind group that I'm a part of where one guy's in Arizona, one's in Washington State,
Absolutely.
one's in Utah, one's in Delaware, one's in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit tougher to schedule time because everybody's in a different time zone. But with those particular mastermind groups, you could really hone in and have some specialized levels of mastermind groups. Whereas the local mastermind groups, you're kind of left with whoever shows up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whoever's available.
Like you can touch so many more people virtually than you can physically. And,
Right.
the types of minds that you can access throughout the internet is much wider than that which you can access in your own neighborhood. So
Right. Absolutely. All right. Number 4. Try multiple groups to see what is available and which ones you mesh well with. Now, I put this in here because some people, they'll try a mastermind group, and I've heard people say, "Oh no, I don't do mastermind groups. I tried one, and it just wasn't for me." It's like, okay, maybe that one wasn't for you, but that doesn't mean that all mastermind groups aren't for you. You know what I mean?
absolutely, you have to be careful because a mastermind group, the success of it depends on the ways the personalities mesh up as well. That's one of the factors that make up a mastermind group. You may not get along with one person in the group, and you may get along very well with another person. The personalities are not divorced from the success of this. I get along with certain types of personalities. You get along with other types of personalities, and so if you've gotten into a mastermind group where you don't quite see the personality that you're attracted to, you may sour on mastermind groups thinking that's what it's all about. But if the group is large enough, and it doesn't have to be a large group, like Napoleon Hill said, one or more people, but if you can find a personality that turns you on to the entire group, I found that in the group that you and I belong to. I find that in my other groups, there are certain people that I warm up to easily and others that I don't necessarily warm up all that easily. And I can make a judgment on a mastermind group just based on that kind of mix. It could be the wrong judgment, Ed.
Right.
So,
yeah. So, I strongly recommend trying multiple groups, either multiple online groups, multiple in-person groups, or a combination of those two. And, it won't be long before you find a group that kind of fits your personality and things that you want to accomplish. Now, again, having said that, the idea of a mastermind group isn't to find a bunch of people that agree with you.
That's right. That's right.
That's an ineffective mastermind group.
Absolutely.
You want to find a mastermind group that has people with differing or unique personalities that have different ideas that they can offer, because it's that diversity that's going to bring out some of the most creative aspects that you can implement in your business.
That diversity is very important. The types of minds that will look at your business or the types of business you look at, that diversity is very important.
Yeah, I mean, just in our group alone, I don't think we've had a single meeting yet. And how many months have we been meeting weekly?
Oh, it's been, I think since the wintertime. I have no idea at this point in time.
Yeah. I think it's probably close to 6 months anyway. We've been meeting weekly, and there hasn't been one meeting so far that I can remember that I didn't hear the words, "Huh, I didn't think about that." I didn't think about that.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
That never occurred to me, but you're absolutely right. I can hear those words many times.
Many times. Oh, I didn't think about that. And that's what you want. That's what you're looking for. You want people to say that to your recommendations, and you want to be able to say that to other people's recommendations about your business. Huh, I didn't think about that. Number 5, identify. Now, this is important. Identify what you can bring to or offer the mastermind group.
This is important. This is really important. I'd like to start this one off for you, Ed, because for me, this was very important in joining any of the groups that I belong to. It was Stephen Covey who said, "Understand before you are understood." It was, like every group I join, I have to understand what I can offer this group. How can they benefit from my presence? Now, in the case of the group that you and I belong to, I'm like a baby in this group, just learning what you guys seem to already know. So what could I offer? I can offer my leadership. I can offer my suggestions. I can offer whatever I can. I can just participate and have my presence be felt as someone who wants to participate, someone who's there seriously, and take value from what's going on there to show that I am serious. I can offer my resources, whatever I can offer, but in order for me to be part of any group, I need to be able to have them know that they can count on me.
Right.
And so, bringing value to my group, whatever that is very important to me.
You're right. And so many people, they hear this and like, oh man, I'm just starting out with my online business. I don't know anything. I can't join a mastermind group because I got nothing to bring to the group. But you're right. You don't need to bring, a high level of skill set of a knowledge of that business.
Absolutely not.
You just have to bring your willingness to provide feedback, your willingness to get involved. I mean, like when I was getting when I was prepping for and getting ready to launch my course that I developed, 7-Day Resume, I asked you if you would be one of the ones that kind of did ran through it like the beta testing.
I was happy to do that. Yeah.
And you did that. You didn't have to know anything about 7-Day Resume. You didn't have to know anything about my business. You just had to go through it and provide me with feedback. And that's exactly what you did. And it was extremely valuable to me.
And I don't have to know anything to do that. I mean, you guys are so ahead of me in many respects. And so I could ask the question, what could I bring to this group?
Right.
Well, I have a personality. I have ideas. I'm looking at each and every one of you. I don't know what you guys know, but I'm on the receiving end as a consumer, and I can offer that kind of feedback. There's many ways I can dig into this group and have them recognize that I'm here for my value and their value.
Right. So I guess the real takeaway of number 5 is just know that if you're going to be let's just say a contributor in a mastermind group, at least that's the way you should see it. You should see yourself as a contributor. You've got to be willing to give back or give to the group in any way that you can, and not just be in this for the what can I get out of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you go into that mastermind group, like I'm going to join this mastermind group so I can learn everything I can about XYZ and to help launch my business forward or whatever. If that's your position, that's your take on it. The other folks in the mastermind group, it won't take a whole lot of time for them to catch on to that.
Absolutely.
and you're not going to be well welcomed in that group.
But furthermore, those are sort of people who come to a bunch of meetings looking for what they can get out of it and are solely focused on that avenue. It's not that you shouldn't be focused on that, but if that's all you're focused on without giving to the group, you don't stick around for many meetings, and that's a good thing, actually.
Right. Yeah. We've had a couple people that fit that category in our group, and
absolutely,
and they moved along, and I was happy to see them move along.
Yep. Yeah, we're looking for someone who's serious, someone who's serious about what a mastermind is, to contribute and to receive value from it. So
right, cool. Number 6. Decide the frequency you can commit to in a mastermind group, whether it be weekly, monthly, quarterly. Now, every mastermind group is going to be different, and it's going to be different for your in-person versus your online. But sometimes you may find that perfect mastermind group that meets weekly, but you can only show up like once every 3 months. Like not only you won't get the full benefit of that mastermind group, but the other members of that mastermind group aren't going to get the full benefit of you either.
That's right.
So it's important to understand when you enter a mastermind group, when are the meeting times and what's the frequency and what does your schedule allow and what can you commit to? Because, these mastermind groups, it's a commitment. You know what I mean?
Commitment. That's exactly what it is. You're looking to get value, give value. The frequency in which a mastermind group meets. I mean, that can always be adjusted over time as well if the group agrees to that, depending on how it's fulfilling its own purpose. But that frequency has to appeal to everyone. Our group meets weekly. There's been some discussion as to whether it should be every other week. You may not know this, but we have two sides of our mastermind group, and those who are willing to take the slower path to our businesses, is it reasonable for us to meet once a week? That discussion is going on. You may not know about that particular discussion, but whatever our weekly or monthly frequency is, I'm committed to being there whenever it meets. If we decide we meet weekly, I'm there weekly. How can I make such a commitment? Well, it's not always easy. Sometimes I don't feel like going to the meeting, but I always walk away benefited from it.
Absolutely. It's just like going to the gym. Like, well, maybe not for you, but for me, I'm like,
too.
Sometimes I'm like, oh man, I don't. But when I'm done, like I walk out of the gym, I'm like, damn, those 10 push-ups were awesome.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding. I did more than 10.
but you strike a good example. I'm feeling bad about something or other. I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't feel like going to a meeting. And at the end of the meeting, how could I not have gone? At the end of the gym, How could I not have gone? And so that happens so often.
Number 7, gauge your level in the group. This is important. You do not want to be the furthest behind, and you do not want to be the furthest ahead. And the reason I put this in here, so many people, they tell me all the time, I would love to be in a mastermind group with Michael Hyatt. I would love to be in a mastermind group with Pat Flynn. I would love to be in a mastermind group with who's the other guy there?
Lewis House. Yeah.
Lewis House. I would love to be in a mastermind, right? And they name off all these, like, I don't know, I call them A-listers, whatever you want to call them. And I'm thinking to myself, like, no, you don't.
Exactly.
You would love to be in those mastermind groups because you would just be, like, completely starstruck the entire time. But you would probably not benefit very much from them. You just wouldn't, because these guys are in mastermind groups and they're talking about strategies and numbers.
You're just not ready for it.
And applications that are just so far past where you're at. It might be interesting to listen to, but you're not going to, one, you may not understand a whole lot of it. Two, even if you understand it, you're so far away from that in your business that you can't implement it. So it's so critical to find a mastermind group that is within your range of where you are in your business and your expertise. Like I said, you don't want to be, now again, you may be the person that's furthest behind you. You may be the person that's furthest ahead. And that's not a complete 100% quantifier.
This is what I appreciate about our group, because, we have people at, there's a variety of levels going on in our group. And, like, for example, I've watched your business, and you're further along than I am, and I've been inspired by watching you, but I've watched you come from a place that was very close to me, and I'm watching you grow and grow and grow. And, the value you have given me just by allowing me to see this, if you were so far ahead of me, I don't think it would be as, I'm able to ask you questions that relate to where I am because you're a couple steps ahead of me. Well, now you're a little bit more than that, but still I'm, I don't feel so out of my element. I don't feel like I don't feel self-conscious like I'm talking to what you call an A-lister. He's going to think I'm stupid. I mean, you may think I'm stupid, but but there's a degree of comfort in talking to those people who are around your level.
That's right. And the best at the end of the day, it is so much easier to learn from someone that's just slightly ahead of you or just did what you're trying to do than it is trying to learn from someone that is eons past where you are and have done that years ago.
I've seen that so many times. I've given up trying to teach people how to do handstands, because I just don't know how to teach that anymore unless I really get down to it, because they have to find some core strength, they have to cover some basics, and I'm just beyond that at this point in time. Now, that sounds rather arrogant for me to say, because I do try and speak to those who would like to gain that kind of skill. As Michael Hyatt would try and speak to me, but there's something missing when Michael Hyatt tries to speak to me and tells me what to do. The same sort of thing that might be missing if I was trying to teach someone who didn't quite have the core strength to do a handstand. And so, those who have, who prepared a little bit, I can teach them better. Those who are closer to me, I can ask the questions more comfortably. I can just get into my questions a little bit more. I can expose myself with a little bit more comfort when the person I'm talking to has been there quite recently.
Right. Yeah, it's like the third base coach of a major baseball league trying to talk to the guy on first base. It's a totally different strategy. It's the same game, but you're in totally different places. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that's really what it is. Gauge your level in the group. You do not want, or at least you should shoot for not being the furthest behind and try not to be the furthest ahead. If you hop into a group and you realize that they are, way beyond where you're at, you probably should look for a different group. Or if you hop into a group and questions are coming out of the group like, what's a website? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I should find a group that's a little bit further ahead, because at the end of the day, you want people in the group to be able to help you, but you also want to be able to help others.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you can find that happy medium between not being the furthest behind and not being the furthest ahead, then you'll be able to achieve that.
Yes, absolutely. So.
I don't remember who said it, but they said if you join a mastermind group and you're the smartest in the room, then you should find a new group.
Absolutely.
Because you're going to find yourself doing nothing but helping,
Yep.
and you're not going to be able to find anyone that's going to help you move the needle.
That's right. And we all have to move our needles. We're there to support each other. And, if one guy's just turning around and helping everybody else, that's not a mastermind group.
Right. That's right.
So.
Number 8, allow yourself enough time in the group to make an honest assessment. My recommendation is 3 months minimum. That's if you're meeting weekly. And if you think 3 months seems like a lot, but really it's 12 meetings?
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's not a lot. So once you've completed 12 meetings, maybe 3 months is the wrong measure. Maybe it's 12 meetings. So if it's monthly, then it's 12 months. That seems to be like a long time to be in, assessing a mastermind group. But 12 meetings is about what I would recommend to assess, and then evaluate if it meets your criteria, and if not, move on.
Ed, I'm thinking this 12 meeting level may be a bit much. I think you can. My own feeling is you can assess a group inside of 6 meetings. I don't see how you can do it in less than 6 meetings. But if you feel uncomfortable by the six meeting, you can make a determination. By 12 meetings, if you're undecided at 6, by 12, there should be no question whether that mastermind group is for you or not.
Right. That's right.
But I think people can get a sense, before 12 meetings. I don't want to disagree with you. I think that's a personal decision. But you still have to. What you're saying here is still correct. You have to stay there long enough, whatever that is. You have to stay there long enough. People come to one meeting and they're gone.
Right.
Have they made an assessment? Anything can happen in one meeting. I call one meeting in our group. We had an argument for a meeting. Those people,
right?
Those people who came for just that meeting, that's not the mastermind group. Yet our mastermind group is great.
Right. I remember that meeting very distinctly.
Yes.
A lot of angry words were said.
That's right. But that's going to happen in a mastermind group.
Yeah.
People may not get along, but we're all there to help each other. I love the fact that we can conflict and still help each other, that we don't have to agree on everything we say. It's really the person who has the business. It's his ultimate decision as to what he should do and what he shouldn't do.
Right.
And so
you're right. I agree with you. This is a personal decision. I just put a recommendation of 3 months because if you don't know, I just put 3 months in the event that you don't know how long you should stick it out, then shoot for 3 months.
Yes.
And then make a decision. But the whole point here is give it enough time. Don't judge, whether or not you want to stay or go off of 1 or 2 or 3 meetings, because you're going to have different people that are going to might not be there the first week, the first meeting you show up. And then the next meeting, those people that were there won't be there, and there'll be new people. So really, it's almost a whole evolution. So by 3 months, whatever that ends up being in terms of number of meetings, you'll probably have a good feel for all of the people in the group that come and go, kind of the topics that are discussed. You might get into the different evolutions. It does. Our group has changed tremendously since we've begun.
But that's what a group should do. I mean,
absolutely.
We all change. We all grow. Our businesses change. I'm recalling that one meeting we just referred to where we sort of had a bit of contention in our thing. And I'm thinking, my God, anyone who's looking at us from that meeting, I mean, it was embarrassing to have new people at the meeting while we're all arguing. But, we all showed up next week and we got straight to business. It was great, and so,
Yeah. And there was a new guy, at least one new person that night. And luckily he showed up again, which is good. Who knows? He might have showed up like, dude, I'm going, you got to check out this Jerry Springer, like Mastermind Group, man. It was good stuff. All right. Number 9, identify an accountability partner or at least one confidant in the group that you can rely on to give it to you straight. Okay, so if you're thinking that you're going to join a mastermind group and everybody in the group is going to be your confidant and everybody in the group is going to give it to you straight and everybody in the group is going to benefit you and help you out and you're going to be able to help them out, it doesn't work like that. You'll be lucky if you can find 1 or 2 people that can be that person for you. And a lot of it comes down to personality.
I think it's personality. I belong to 4 groups, and in each one of those, there are people I gravitate toward that we hook up with quite nicely, and others who we don't quite, there's no contention or other, but we just don't, I don't feel that vibe when I'm with them that I do with the others. And,
right.
And that's perfectly allowable. We don't get along, we don't make best friends of everybody. But I think it's important to have that accountability partner, someone who will, watch you as you watch them. It doesn't have to be watch you as you watch them. You can be watched by someone and you watch someone else, but somehow or another you have to attach to people in your group. And, for accountability, for advice, you have to see someone in your group that opens the rest of the doors for you for that group.
Right. Right.
Sometimes it's a heart thing. You can see someone who resonates with your own heart, or maybe it's a business thing. He has the same sort of business. For example, I'm starting podcasting similar to you, Ed. And so I've looked at the other podcasters in our group to see if I can attach to them in ways. There are several other podcasters in our group. You have extended yourself to me, I've extended yourself to you, and that connection has been made. I have to now design a website. I may not go to you in my group to do that. It's basically you have to understand what you're looking for. There are people in a group, no matter how small this group is, you can find someone who you can relate to based on your purpose.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Exactly.
All right, number 10, last but not least, and I actually put this last for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Is this group helping you move the needle, and are you helping others move their needle? If not, to either of those questions, you either need to fix it or you need to find a new group.
It's important to do both. To do both. This goes back to a previous one about providing value. If your needle's not being moved inside of you, and you're not moving anybody else's needle, what are you doing?
Right.
That's what you're there for. You're there to help and be helped.
That's right.
So, both of those are important. I don't see how you can do one without the other. It doesn't quite work that way.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I mean, your number 10 says it all along. I mean, like, you got to move your needle, they have to move theirs.
Mm-hmm.
When you're famous for saying this other phrase as opposed to end of the day, is when a rising tide rises all ships.
Mm-hmm.
And when other people are succeeding, you are succeeding too. You'll feel
that's right.
So.
That's it, man. That's you know what? That's really it in a nutshell. I mean, there's a lot of information out there about mastermind groups, how to start one, how to be a part of one, how to find them.
How do you find them, Ed?
Well, in the show notes page of the of this episode, I've got a great article by Michael Hyatt that talks about how to launch a successful mastermind group. So if you're interested in starting one, there's an article about that. And then there's another one that an article that I linked to in there from Forbes. They released an article about masterminds that I highly recommend reading. And then Pat Flynn does an excellent blog post about how to find a mastermind group. So there's information in there about how to launch one, how to find one, right, and then what they're about on top of what we've discussed tonight.
I got to go to your show notes page to find all this stuff out.
All right. Absolutely. So we have actually pushed over our time limit for this episode, which is okay. I went a little bit over. That's fine. This is a very good
conversation. I've enjoyed this, speaking with you about this topic. I really enjoyed it. It's opened my eyes here a little bit as well. So
that's awesome. And that's kind of the whole point. And no two masterminds are alike. They're all going to be different, and it's going to be determined on 1,000 different variables. But the important thing here is just understand kind of what to expect and what kind of people are going to be expecting of you.
Yep.
And just know that trying to go it alone, I don't care what it is you're doing, trying to do anything by yourself, it's an uphill battle,
man. It really is. That was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I've engaged in solitary sports, never the team sports, but only solitary, like gymnastics and tennis and swimming and diving. And so becoming part of a team, that just wasn't my style as a kid. As I got older, of course, I can see the disadvantages of doing that. Being a part of something is much, much better than going. When the more people that are involved in my success, the more fun it is.
That's right.
So
that's right.
And people want to see you succeed. They don't want to see you fail. The people who you associate with want to see you succeed. Take advantage of that.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep. Yeah, like we used to say in the Army, trying to do something by yourself is like trying to push a rope uphill. Right?
Good analogy.
It just doesn't work, man.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's it, man. Hey, Lee, thanks very much. This was short notice. You agreed to come on and talk about this.
I enjoyed it.
I didn't think it was going to be a very difficult one to have a very good discussion about. This is something that both of us are very passionate about and believe very much in.
Absolutely.
Hey, man, I just really do appreciate you coming on. I look forward to having you on in the future to talk about some things that you've got going on and
we'll make those
some things that we're doing together. So that's awesome, man. So again, folks, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this valuable. If you want to check out everything that we talked about in this episode, you can find it at the show notes page that we keep referring to over at changeyourpov.com/episode 63. And again, if you want that 10 tips when joining a mastermind group, those 10 things that Lee and I discussed tonight, it is available for you to download. Just head on over to that show notes, and there will be a spot where you can opt in and download that for free. Grab it, use it, take it to your mastermind group and say, hey, this is something that's been recommended on Change Your POV. What do you guys think about this? There's several books that were mentioned tonight from Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich was an excellent book. I just got done listening to that on Audible. Another one that he wrote, is called, there it is, Master Key to Riches. And then another one is The Law of Success. So those are 3 very excellent books by Napoleon Hill. And all 3 of them discuss mastermind groups. And again, if you want to pick up any of those, and listen to them from Audible, you can grab your free download and a free 30-day trial by heading over to changeyourpov.com/free book. I really look forward to you stopping by the website, checking out everything we got going on. And if you got any questions or would like to leave any comments, feel free to do so in the comments section of the show notes page, or you can head on over to Facebook. We've got a Change Your POV Facebook page where you can leave comments there and check out everything that Bennett and I have going on with our 30-day challenge. Some of those questions are getting very interesting. Wait till tomorrow's question for Bennett. You're going to love that one.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So that's it, man. Any parting words, Lee, for our guests?
You can always grow older, but you don't have to grow old.
Amen. That's it, folks. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Change Your POV podcast with Eddie Lazary. Check out more content by going to changeyourpov.com. And remember, your ability and willingness to change your point of view will open doors of opportunity.